back, Internet. The GM keeps talking about how cool Draw Steel is and how much he liked it, but he hasn't actually read the book yet and has no intention of running it anytime soon, but he really likes it. And we're all just kind of confused because we thought we were going to play, but he hasn't read the book. So, session's canceled. Hopefully he'll read it soon. We'll see, though. We'll see.
You know, I'm gonna test it because if we do run it soon, I'm just gonna start making rules up and I'm gonna see if he just starts nodding.
See if he notices. So like, yeah, that's how that works. And you're like, this rule says that I just do 100 damage every turn. So.
Yeah, it's like, so if I roll if I roll at least an echelon, if I roll echelon 3, that means I can roll another attack. And it just kind of is like exploding dice where I'll just get to keep rolling attacks for every time I get echelon 3.
Just have infinite attacks.
Yeah. Have I showed you the that bit from the Emperor TTS episode where they play Warhammer RPG and they have to fight an actual Custodes, and they're like, their only way we're going to win is if we can keep popping exploding dice, and the dude keeps rolling Ulrich's Fury, which is the mechanic for that game. So he's just like, roll 10, roll. And eventually he rolls enough exploding dice to actually beat a Custodes armor value. And he does a lot of damage, and the character's like, that's bullshit. What the
fuck? Just keep rolling.
Yeah.
Exploding dice, one of those concepts that's always like, it's fun, but man, is it just like impossible to really design around? You know what I mean? Like,
so
the possibility for the math to just get out of control.
Lancer did a pretty good job of this because there's a tag and its weapon's called Overkill, which is exploding dice. So if you roll, I think every time you roll max damage on an Overkill weapon, you roll again, but you take, I think you take 1 heat. So you can roll potentially pretty high if you get lucky enough, but you're just going to overheat the shit out of your mech. So you might go nuclear while you beat the bad guy.
I mean, that's a decent trade-off. I more meant like when you're trying to math out like average damage in a round, like how many rounds can an enemy take, how many rounds should combat usually go for, like what kind of output do the enemies or the players have, like that kind of stuff is always kind of hard to figure out as soon as you start bringing in exploding dice, because you're like, well, normally they do 10 damage a round, but they could potentially do 40 in a round if they roll right, and that's gonna really make this fight a joke. But I don't know how we would, if we make the HP too high, then the fight's gonna be awful. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it really requires a DM willing to throw the plan out the window. Like if they just get crazy exploding dice, they're just like, fuck it, let's run it.
Well, I mean, for the designers, I'm not even talking about for the GM. I'm talking about the actual people making the game, like how they have to plan around that.
Same concept, methinks. I think that like you as a designer have to just be like, this is dumb and it's going to be overpowered and it's probably going to cause some problems, but I think it's going to be funny, so fuck it.
I guess. I don't know. It's definitely not something I would want to have to contend with.
I think Fabula did this pretty well. Make it an optional rule. It's like zero powers. Tell zero powers tells the GM, this is going to be a fuck busted, but it could get really funny if you let it. So up to you.
Fabula doesn't have exploding dice.
No, but it has the zero powers, which do like ridiculous damage and like make every fight kind of trivial.
I mean, sure, if you're throwing it in there as an optional rule, that's fine. But like Shadowrun has exploding dice by default, for example.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Any and all damage, I'm pretty sure, can explode in Shadowrun, if I remember correctly. I mean, don't quote me on that. I might be misremembering, but yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. But that's what I'm saying is like, if you as a designer wanted to put it in, just make it an optional rule.
Sure, you could do that. Shadowrun does not.
No.
Shadowrun
requires 4 dice to confirm an attack. Shadowrun doesn't give a shit about you or your time.
4 rolls to confirm attack. Shadowrun also likes to tout itself as like pretty mathematically balanced.
Is it though? I've not played the game enough, but I've heard the wacky woohoo. It doesn't seem like it.
I'm gonna say like not really, but I think the designers like to say it is. I don't know. It's a thing. I don't know. Whatever. I'm also talking with out of date information, so like it might be better now or something. And I also could be misremembering too, because you know I played, I don't know, fucking over 6 years ago or something like that. Maybe 5 years ago I played Shadowrun. So like, or no, more than that. No, I played it when in my like first or second year of college. So like, math is hard. Like 9 years ago, maybe. So I could be misremembering things too. You know, like don't take my word for it 100%. But yeah. I don't know. Shadowrun's a weird game. It's a weird game. It's a weird setting. It's weird. It's got weird books, you know. And by books, I mean novels in this case.
Goblinification or whatever.
Goblinization. That is when a human, when they hit puberty, turns into an orc or a troll. Yes, because you're not born that way. Yeah. Listen, I like a lot of the lore in Shadowrun, but it does get fucking wacky. So, you know. Yeah, you know.
It be that way sometimes.
Lay shrug. Like, Anyway, though, we're not here to talk about Shadowrun. We're here to We're here to talk about Draw Steel again. More steel has been
drawn,
thrusted, and drawn. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Draw Steel. Look, we're taking a look at the monster book because I wanted to take a look at the monster book. Because we didn't last time, and I wanted to. I don't know why I'm justifying this. I felt like it.
Okay.
Here we are. This is gonna be a little chaotic because there's not really, I feel, in my opinion at least, I don't feel like there's any good, easy way to cover a monster book for an RPG, because you're not going to go through and just like read every monster stat block, because holy fuck, that would be boring. So we're just going to like jump around and talk about it in general is kind of the best I got. Point out some things I think are cool and whatnot. And yeah. And you know, we'll cover the like basic rules at the beginning of the book, obviously. Sorry. I almost forgot. Follow or subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. And if you're feeling especially generous, we have a donation link in the description, if you would be so kind. If you love us deeply, or don't. It could be hate money. I don't care. I'll take any sugar mamas or daddies that are offering. Saudi oil barons, knock yourself out.
Anyway. Speak for yourself, but on that last one, but okay.
Listen, if Bill Burr can take the money, why can't we?
Because we have principles.
I couldn't resist.
I understand, brother. I understand.
Anyway.
Also, I know we absolutely just subtweeted Matt, but I'm just openly tweeting Matt. Matt, stop blowing up my fucking Discord. You're not in the podcast.
What is the point of you saying that? This is going to be over a week later that he would even remotely have a chance of hearing you make that statement.
It's fine. It's the thought that counts.
I get Isaiah from the past or from the future from the past is telling Matt to fuck up. Not particularly
fuck
helpful.
Up. Stop blowing up my fucking Discord. Fix you and Ray's audio problems over DMs. Stop doing it in my server.
I did have that thought.
I ought to kill you.
Oh my god. Anyway,
it's still happening. It's still fucking
Stay on task. All right. The Draw Steel monster book. So Draw Steel only has 2 books. They don't have like a DMG style book. And so the monster book kind of serves as your GM book. And basically that's just because in Matt's opinion as a designer, he was like, you need 2 books. You have the book for all the player stuff and the rules, and the book with all the monsters for the person running the game. What else do you need? And I was kind of like, that's fair. That's a fair argument. I absolutely get that. Funny enough, I had the thought rather recently that I've been kind of wanting a DMG style book for Fabula. But I'm not going to get too into that right now, but it's like a thought I had.
No, I mean, I think that's a
for raisins.
Yeah, I mean, the book throws a lot at you. I think it would behoove the designers to create something that put a lot of the stuff that they talk about in context. Like, yeah, you get the examples in the player's handbook and you get a couple examples in the monster book, but like practical use sense, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, you can think about something like this or something like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. We're just going to move on. Yes. I'm not going to get too in the weeds because I have a lot of weeds that I could get into, and that's not what we're talking about here. So, but yeah. All right. So because it serves as kind of for the director book, for Draw Steel, it has a chunk at the beginning that is kind of the basics of how you should run monsters and handle it and encounters and so on and so forth. So it opens up with what is the point? What is the point of having monsters? What is the purpose? And I mean, you know, they're for the heroes to face, and, you know, their opposition, obviously. It mentions the idea, it phrases it, every goblin has a story, which is basically just saying stat blocks in this book are stat blocks, and stat blocks are not every facet of a monster, right? They are a snapshot of a moment in time, and that moment is when that monster is engaging the players in a fight or something akin to a fight. You know, high tension situation or whatever. Usually a fight. And it's the idea of like, so don't take the stat block of a creature as a Bible for what the creature is, right? Think about the creatures beyond just being stat blocks. Don't be too sterile about how you treat them. And, you know, essentially give them a little backstory. Think about what they are. Think about how they relate to the world around them. All that kind of shit. Which is not, I mean, not saying anything too crazy. I don't know if D&D has a section where it tells you to do something along these lines, but like, you know, this is one of those things that basically back in the day, the hobby had a tendency to just, you know, when you go in and begin your dungeon fucking, you don't really think about the monster slapping. You just do it, right? You don't think about any implications of it generally. As time has gone on, though, people have, you know, thought about the implications of like going into goblin caves and killing their entire family and like, are we the baddies? So it's just the idea of like, don't necessarily just make them empty stat blocks with nothing going on.
That being said, and this is something I appreciate, is they were like, we have provided you with plenty of monsters that do not require the moral dilemma, like zombies.
Yes.
That you can kill with impunity, and you are no less heroic than anyone else. And I was like, you know,
yes. Yeah.
I like having villains that are more than just, you know, all orcs are evil. I think that's pretty common parlance now to agree that, like, yeah, maybe the orcs have like a culture and are living beings with thoughts and feelings, But sometimes you want to just slap zombies. You know what I'm saying? Like
sometimes you do. Yes, there are times where you want to waffle. I think the idea is you want to go between the two, right? You want to go on and off. You don't. Sometimes you want the moral dilemma, and sometimes you don't. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
It's boring to do only one or only the other. Like, or maybe it's more accurate to say, doing only zombies can get boring. Doing only morally gray monsters can get like exhausting.
Yeah, it's like, do you really want to like Ian Ha over how like Fragarak is the final dragon in existence, and if you kill it, it's like, you know, you're destroying you
genocided a species. Yeah.
Nah, I don't want to worry about that today. There's a zombie there, and I'm finna roll some dice and get headshots.
Yeah. Well, and also the other good thing about Draw Steel is Draw Steel gives you completely free reign to just like, much like Fabula, non-lethally take out anyone you fight, right? Or like subdue them in pretty much any way you want, right? Fabula doesn't even use the word, like, Fabula doesn't say they die anywhere, right? Fabula specifically says when something loses, they surrender.
Yes,
so
when they are defeated.
When you take when you take something down to 0 HP, it could be a case of them being like, you know, they drop their weapons and they're winded and they're like, all right, I'm done fighting, like I'm out. You know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be that you knock them unconscious, right? It could literally just be they tap out. So, and Draw Steel takes a very similar mentality. I gotta actually comparing Draw Steel to Fabula. It's really funny. All right, maybe not funny. Funny is not the right word. It's interesting. Running Fabula right now, and looking at this book, going through Draw Steel, and Draw Steel having come out around the same time that I'm running Fabula, because the two games are like doing a similar thing, but coming at it from different angles, which is to say, both games are looking at the traditional D&D style, you know, go around heroic adventurer vibe, but they're both looking at it from a standpoint of no D&D baggage, right? Like from a design standpoint, neither Draw Steel nor Fabula is beholden to any sort of D&D isms if they don't want to be. And Fabula is coming at it from this angle of injecting Forged in the Dark and PBTA style, like what people call story games, injecting that element of the hobby into the traditional D&D vibe. And then Draw Steel is like, we're staying in the direction of the traditional D&D vibe, right? We're not trying to break that far from it, but design-wise, we're still keeping ourselves unshackled so we can update the bits. Basically, we can keep the bits we like and then update the bits we don't like, you know what I mean? But they're both kind of like reevaluating the very classical D&D thing.
And I think they're doing a very good job at it. I think they're doing something that D&D, like people in D&D constantly, or people who play only D&D say that can't be done. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
So like, or not that it can't be done. Let me redact that statement. But like, this we've talked about this before. The sort of like, oh, D&D is a combat game, but you don't have to play it that way. And it's like, right, but it's the only thing the game cares about, and it doesn't seem like it cares enough to try to make it something more.
Yeah.
But these games have shown pretty effectively that they can be more, and it's not that difficult to make it more.
No.
It just takes some contemporary views on the space that D&D, as we've sort of said, either cannot for shitty CEO or refuses to for maybe similar reasons acknowledge.
Yeah. If you reassess the tradition with some contemporary ideas, you can come at it from different angles and get some, like, because the core, the thing is ultimately that nugget, that the deepest core of D&D, which is the going into the dungeon, fighting the scary monsters as a cool shining knight in armor. Everybody still likes that vibe, right? Like, People still want to do that vibe. It's just the stuff around the vibe that's like, well, if we can keep the core vibe but change some things mechanically so we can get rid of the annoying bits or the old school bits or maybe just bits we're tired of. This is another thing that you always got to keep in mind, right? D&D's been around for a long time. It might just be a case of it's not even that people dislike what D&D's doing. We're just kind of tired of what D&D's doing, right? Like, we've played it a lot.
You want the hobby to
play
evolve.
Something different. Not even the hobby.
Or not, you want the system to evolve, to grow. People just
are, well, no, what I'm not even necessarily saying that. I'm just saying right now, the vibe is shifting towards something else, and maybe in 5-10 years the vibe will shift back to D&D after we've been away from it for a little while. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's also just an element of we liked this for a little bit, now we didn't, now we like it again, now we don't. You know what I mean?
It's possible, like, for sure.
You know, there's a lot of different elements, but anyway, it's just interesting looking at these two games that are kind of answering a similar problem, but from different angles. The reason I thought about that is the whole like taking enemies down non-lethally is something that people bring up for D&D a lot as like a, you know, it can get weird, the like overly colonialist take everything and take all their loot and kill them all vibe, right?
So you know what's funny? I just looked it up because I didn't remember. In 5th edition, even 5th edition 2024, the only way you cannot deal non-lethal damage with spells that are not melee.
No, you can't. Not. It's even more than that. You can't deal non-lethal damage with spells, period. It's only melee attacks. Only. Can't even ranged attack it. And why? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, you know what I will say too. We got to move on. But what I will say as like a last note, the idea of the non-lethal takedown and whether the game should just let you do it or the game should make it more difficult or whatever, it really depends on the game. Like, I'm not saying that the idea of making it harder to take enemies down non-lethally is something that a game should never do, right? Because if I'm playing a cyberpunk game, for example, the idea that it's harder to take someone down in like a non-lethal silent way, but is rewarding if you do so in a cyberpunk setting, right? Could be narratively rewarding, or it could be mission rewarding, or it could just be like there's an NPC who's like on your team now because you decided to not kill everyone, and they're like, okay, I like that you guys, took the time or whatever. In that kind of a game, I understand making it like you have to work for it, but in something like D&D or Draw Steel, yeah, it feels silly to have to work for it because it's not really, like, genre-wise, that's not like an important element. So just let the paladin character like clunk the goblin upside the head and knock him out and not have to make a big deal at it. or maybe cast a spell at their feet that sends them flying and like takes them out of the fight but doesn't kill them, it just wins them or whatever, you know what I mean? Which is something that I literally let a player do when I was running 5e.
The most common argument I see for like it's like, so you're telling me I can make spells stronger, but I can't purposefully make them weaker?
Make them weaker, yeah, that's true. Yeah, like take your scorching ray and make it like a little like candlelight pew at the face.
Yeah, like, you can't bonk them. Take a little zest off it, like. Yeah. Going in totally burners hot every single time.
Yeah. Anyway, get back to read. So Draw Steel. Every goblin has a story thing, something the game tells you to keep in mind. It briefly talks about when a creature becomes a monster, and it's basically just saying like, what's the difference between, like a wild animal and a quote unquote monster. And it's just the idea of a wild animal roams around and is like searching for food and kills things for food, whereas a monster is like actively being cruel or malicious in some way. So if it's a bear that's just looking for food, that's not necessarily a monster. But if it's a bear that's like killing everything that walks by for funsies, then the game is like, that's where you drift into that monster territory. And it also says monsterism, being a monster in this game, can be temporary. which is interesting. Like the idea that, you know, the bear killing things for fun could be subdued and like calmed down, and then it stops doing that, maybe, you know, or something like that. Or the marauding orc bandits, you defeat them and get them to agree to like cut it out. Now they're not monsters anymore, which is like, again, a thing that obviously does happen all the time. It's just interesting that the game kind of brings it up.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I kept thinking about the one bad day that people talk about. You know, like the Joker's evil because he had one bad day. Like just
yeah.
It's really good to have things like that. Like maybe the bear isn't doing it for fun; it's doing it because someone killed its cub, and it's just kind of on.
Right.
It's just on demon time for a little bit, and if you knock it out and show some compassion, maybe it just goes back to being a normal but very sad bear.
Yep, depressed bear. And then it says, okay, so then when does a monster become a villain? And it says, if a creature is always a monster, then they're a villain. Just to say, like, they are always 24/7 trying to impose their will upon, you know, others or weaker people or whatever. Which, again, not a revolutionary statement or anything, but something that the game is explicitly bringing to your attention. You know, it says villains typically have personal relationships to heroes that other monsters don't. There are universal or moral reasons for the heroes and monsters to come to blows with one another, such as hurting people is wrong, but only a villain can take something important from a hero, stand for everything they oppose, or act as a corrupted reflection of them in a way that leaves the world worse off. So it's just sort of giving you a frame of the sort of muddy distinction from like a creature to a monster to like a full-on like villain. Then after that, there's the section that says coming to the table. This is basically the thing I was talking about before, where it says, you know, talk to your players about how you want to handle the idea of a quote-unquote monster. Do you want to do the morally gray orc tribe, or do you want to just do the clinical, they are the enemy, take them out kind of vibe? And just says like talk about it before you play, basically, or at the very least, you know, just like establish that vibe. And then it mentions the thing that Isaiah, it says where everyone loves zombies, and it says, we have provided you with assortment of undead, demons, and war dogs that can be fought with impunity. So like if you want to just zombie it up, there are some options to just zombie it up, which, like Isaiah said, can sometimes just be a good little pressure release valve.
Look, sometimes you want to just go number go bigger. You don't want to have to worry about the goblins family.
Sometimes you want to just track your kill count.
Yeah, and like if you're killing zombies, more often than not, the family members of those zombies will thank you for it.
Probably.
Look, they don't want to get eaten by Grandma Yetta. You don't want to get eaten by Grandma Yetta. So,
True.
I don't know, hit Grandma Yetta with a 4 megaton tactical nuke and walk away.
Listen, fucking rack the glack, pump the shotgun, and glicky Grandma Yetta.
Yeah.
So then we go over to the basics. So the first thing in the basics it mentions is languages, which is just to say if a monster has a language or multiple languages, it will say it in their stat block, and if they don't know any languages. That's real simple. Then we have some keywords. So similar to damage typings, monsters have keywords. So like abyssal, accursed, animal, beast, construct, dragon, elemental, fey, giant. They're typings. The typings do not have any bespoke mechanical effects on their own, but as with damage typings in Draw Steel, but also in games like D&D, they will interact with other mechanical things. So if you have a sword of undead slaying, you know, and you're fighting a plant monster, the sword of undead slaying doesn't do anything, but if you're fighting the undead monster, it does, right? That kind of vibe. Then obviously also on the stat block will be the creature's encounter value, which is, it's their CR. It's how challenging, how dangerous the monster is. Then there's a little section talking about free strikes. So to make the director's life a little bit easier, free strikes for monsters, which are your reactions, basically, you don't roll for them. It's just they have a set amount of damage, and when a monster stat block calls for a free strike for whatever reason, you just use that set amount of damage, and that's it. You know, speed things up a little. But Other than that, free strikes will have the usual keywords, and they'll have, like magic or psionic or weapon or whatever, and they'll have the usual. They function like the main character, like the hero's free strikes. And then opportunity attacks are the same deal. The monster uses a free strike. However, if they if the monster has a bane, they cannot make opportunity attacks. Signature abilities, monsters have a signature. Every monster has one signature ability that will be their first action in their stat block, and it will be called out as their signature ability. This is basically their default attack if you don't want to do any other crazy, whambo jambo. It just free strike or just a signature ability. And then you have traits. Traits are traits. They are passive abilities that monsters will have. Well, they're not actually. I say they're passive. They're not all necessarily passive. No, sorry. They are passive, but they can interact with actions and stuff depending on what the trait is. But basically, they're just abilities that the monster has. Then you have malice. So creatures will have abilities and features that cost a resource called malice, and the PCs have their heroic resource that builds up over a fight, and that is how they use their cool abilities. The director has malice, and that is how they use the monster's cool abilities, is via spending malice. The director also has the stat blocks of an individual monster will have malice type abilities, but also groups of monsters will have malice abilities. So the goblins, for example, if you go to the goblin section in the book, they have goblin-based malice ability, and any goblin can use those abilities. And then there's also like 2 or 3 generic ones. Then also creatures have an ability called End Effect, and this is basically legendary resistance, where if the creature has an effect that has hit them in, they have some sort of ability that the heroes put on them, they can take damage to end the effect. So the big thing about I remember Matt Colville saying this forever ago, but he basically was like, legendary resistance is kind of a bad mechanic because it puts you in this awkward position where you don't want to use your weakest spells, because then the GM isn't going to burn the legendary resistance on a weak spell for the boss monster, but you don't want to use your best spells because then you're going to waste your spell slots. So what you end up doing is using your as many middle of the road options as you can for a couple of rounds, which feels kind of awkward sometimes, which I do agree. It can feel weird. And so the idea of the end effect thing is, even if you do blow your load on an ability and the monster purges it, you still get something out of it because they are hurting themselves to purge the ability. So that's what the end effect in a stat block does. I don't know about you. Legendary resistance always.
No, I agree. I was waiting for my chance to jump in. No, yeah. They don't feel fun as a player to go up against. And they do not feel fun as a GM to use, because you don't want your players to be like, well, what the fuck is the point of doing my cool spell? They're just going to resist it. And if they on the small chance that they don't, they're just going to get the free W anyway. That doesn't feel fun for a character for a player to know that, Yeah.
Well,
but then you have to play the game of, well, I can't just let my ancient dragon just randomly eat this hit. Why would that, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. The problem is you're like, I can't let my ancient dragon get stun locked, because then it's boring, obviously.
Yeah.
But it can also feel shitty to just be like, nope, you just don't. I think part of the problem with legendary resistance for me personally is it's too easy to use, in that it's just player uses effect, enemy just goes, no, you don't. And that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the monster just goes, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not exciting, There's no roll involved. There's no back and forth. There's no You just like, nope. So I think that's always been one of my contentions with Legendary Resistance. It just feels too simple.
Yeah, too simple, too easy, and again, doesn't feel fulfilling for any party.
It's not particularly fulfilling. It's something you do as a GM because you know you kind of have to, but yeah, it never is you're never super excited about using it.
Yeah, you don't want to, but you do. You don't want Fragarak the Invincible to die in 2 rounds. So
yeah, he's not very invincible in that case. So then we have villain actions. So villain actions, the long and short of it, are more or less legendary actions from 5e. The key difference is a couple key differences. They don't cost any kind of resource point thing, right? You just activate them. They are hold on before I say that. Now I'm thinking, am I getting my wires crossed? Yeah, creature. Yeah, okay, yeah, I was right. So they are end of turn abilities like legendary actions are, so they're similar in that way. Or they're the same in that way. You can only ever do 1 villain action per round, and not per creature per round. So if you have multiple monsters in a fight that can use multiple villain actions, you still only get 1 per round. And they have effectively a suggested order of use this one, then this one, then this one, and there's 3 of them. So the first villain action is considered the opener, which will generally, they give a descriptor. The first one will generally deal some damage, summon a guy, buff somebody up, debuff somebody, that kind of deal. The second villain action will generally be a heavy crowd control, or battlefield manipulation. And then the third villain action will be their ultimate. It's a big smack you for a lot of damage, and really fuck things up. That's the general flow.
Something I want to add here. I really appreciate that. I like that they are explaining the theory behind the design. They're not just dropping it in your lap and telling you to figure it out.
Yeah, how they generally flow.
Yeah, because if turn your mind back when we were talking about legendary actions for 5th edition, this is literally how I designed my custom legendary actions for monsters. First one does a little damage. Second one is crowd control or some sort of get out of town ability, just either movement or teleport or not get grouped up on. And then third is the big thing. This is literally how I designed monsters when I was doing Hellscapes. I love this.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So it makes sense. It makes sense that you would come to the same kind of conclusion that they did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now technically, you do not have to use villain actions in order. It's just generally recommended. You also don't have to use them at all necessarily, right? If you want, the first round to go by and just not to use the villain action, you can. So that you're not necessarily locked in, but the idea is that they've designed them in such a fashion that it will keep things interesting by sort of ramping things up round by round. And people keep saying, now I can't verify this as I have not played the game, but people keep saying online that fights generally don't go past 2 or 3 rounds in Draw Steel. So only having 3 villain actions might not sound like much, but that basically is going to cover the entire fight is what people are saying. So, worth considering or worth paying attention to, I guess. Again, I can't really verify that, but that's what I keep hearing.
That's interesting if true. I don't want to say that I don't believe it. I've not played this game either. But when you look at the stat blocks, the monsters have some pretty wild shit to deal with players. So to just say that, like, nah, that's not really gonna happen. I'm like, really?
I think the reason it happens, I think the reason that it's worked out that way ultimately comes down to the not missing. Right?
True. I'm definitely not calculating that in.
Yeah, because the attrition is always constant, it speeds things up quite drastically. And when you're dealing with victories, right? If you're fighting the big boss monster and you have 4 victories, you're going to start that fight like pretty loaded up on heroic resources, which means you can unload some pretty heavy shit round 1 right from the jump, you know?
Right.
So, and with the actual play I watched that Matt Colville put on his channel, they killed a boss monster in 2 rounds. So if it might not be always the case, but it definitely can happen. It like they absolutely took him out in 2 rounds. So yeah, do with that what you will. Then we get to organization. So it says a level 1 ghoul isn't necessarily as strong as a level 1 orc. Most creature types have an overarching organization that determines the power level and encounter value of the monsters within it. Some modes of organization are built around large numbers of weaker creatures, while other modes prefer fewer but more formidable foes. Basically, monsters have organization typings in this game, which will dictate how many of them are going to be present and how you want to literally organize the fight. So at the bottom, you have minions. They die the fastest and are only really a threat in large amounts. So if you're running a fight where there's a lot of dudes, if you want to run a fight where there's a lot of creatures, minions are the way to go. With the knowledge that minions die, you know, in 1 hit generally, maybe 2 if they're lucky. Then you have horde type monsters, which are, you know, they're not minion level weak. They're a threat in a 1v1, 1 horde monster versus 1 hero at the same level. They're like a decent effective threat against them. Then you have platoon organized monsters, which this is the one that throws me a little, is the platoon guys.
So platoon to me, it like, based on how it's described, it seems like you're building a platoon of mixed units, so they can't be the same, right? Like a Brain, please. I'm dying.
Also, I just realized I misspoke before, actually.
Like hordes and minions, right? Like those are typically, from what it seems, the same little goober, but platoons specifically have to be organized separately.
So I just realized I was misspeaking before. I said horde monsters are the guys that are roughly equal to a hero. No. Platoon monsters Platoon monsters are 1-to-1 to a hero, roughly. Horde monsters are still weaker than heroes, but they are not as weak as minions. And the other thing that I'm just remembering now that I was forgetting, minion monsters get organized in groupings, whereas hordes don't necessarily have to. So like minions, when you put them on the field, will be like a group of 5 and a group of 4 and a group of 3 or whatever. Whereas hordes could be like 4 individual guys, but they're still not platoon level dangerous. Yeah. And then you have elite creatures, which are basically, elite guys. They're not boss level, but they are tougher than the platoon monsters. 1 elite guy can roughly take on like two heroes of the same level. Then you have leaders, who are generally power level wise are gonna be close to elites, but leaders will have buffs for their allies, and they will sometimes have villain actions, because the idea is that the leader is rocking up with hordes, minions, or platoons and elites or whatever. Like the leader shows up with other guys, so they will have abilities to help out their bros. But on an individual basis, the leader and the elites are pretty close in power. And then you have solo monsters, which are meant to fight the heroes solo. And they can usually go toe-to-toe with up to about 6 heroes. So if you have a group of 6, and, you could throw a solo at them of the equivalent level. Because monsters have encounter values in this game, but they also have levels, which is a little weird to me. I don't necessarily know why they went that angle, but they did. So
I was gonna bring this up. There is a lot of math involved in designing an encounter, and they give you a like down and dirty, gotta prep something real quick, but
it's not that much quicker.
It's not that much quicker, and
no,
I feel like you are actively doing yourself a disservice to run things that way, because you're introducing a lot of uncertainty into an otherwise pretty mathematically sound system.
Maybe. I don't know. Without testing the math in either case, I'm hesitant to say, especially because I'm bad at math. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. Like, I definitely looked at the quick build system and was like, it doesn't seem that much quicker.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But yes, encounter building, it's one of those ones, two things I think to keep in mind with it. One, obviously the tried and true, after you use it for a while, it will start to lock into your brain better and be not as stressful, obviously. But two, the other important thing is Draw Steel does not expect you to do... Draw Steel takes the Fabula approach a little bit more when you're talking about fights, where you're not intended to do them all the goddamn time, right? You're not necessarily going through a dungeon and doing like every single room is a fight or whatever, right? It's less fights that are more impactful is generally how Draw Steel goes, talks about it. Mm-hmm. So you probably won't need to prep as many encounters. I guess you could if you wanted, I suppose, but yeah. Then the thing that I really love is that creatures have rolls. Now, a roll doesn't do anything mechanically bespoke. Like just because a creature has Ambusher as their roll doesn't mean they have like a special ability tied to that. However, the rolls will generally describe what that creature is good at in a fight, and you can mix and match the rolls to make different kinds of fights, is the long and short of it. This is a 4th edition idea that a lot of people bitched about in 4E. So in this game you have ambushers, which are your assassin guys. They jump out and do a bunch of damage, but they probably are easy to kill. You have artillery guys, which is pretty much what it sounds like. They take them down from range. You have your brutes, which are like lots of health and big smackos, and they just stand in the front and bonk with hammer. You have your controllers, which are going to be your magic or your psionic guys manipulating the battlefield. You have defenders, which generally are going to take a lot of damage and be able to protect squishier guys in some way. You have the harriers, which are kind of like the ambushers, but the idea is that harriers are more mobile hit and run type creatures that are going to pop in, smack back, and then leave. You have hexers, which are basically your debuffers. Mounts, which are mounts. And supports, which are gonna, buff their homies, heal them, help them with action, economy, movement, so on and so forth. Then it gives some rules about just like what happens when a creature takes a couple of specific actions. So a creature who takes the defend action can't take additional main actions. If a creature grabs somebody, they have to commit to the grab, basically. Easy way to put that. If a creature summons another creature, then the summoned creature takes a turn immediately after the one who summoned it. Creatures who do healing, who heal via damage. Some creatures have abilities that deal damage and allow the creature to use the ability to regain stamina. Unless specified, this damage, if this ability deals damage to multiple targets, the creature only regains stamina equal to 1 instance. Basically, this is just covering a couple of edge cases of like, if the creature does this, this is how you deal with it. Then they give a generic. What?
You're talking about? Sorry, before you get to the non-combatant, I read each of the creature behaviors in like fighting game thought, where it's like creatures who defend just don't be negative on block for it. Creatures who grab just commit to the grab for it.
Not how I thought of it, but yeah, all right.
I literally one for each of like for summon. I was like, damn, I can't believe they're zoning.
I don't know how you got there, but all right.
I think it really started with creatures who grab, because I just thought of Brett. I'm gonna be honest. I just thought about Brett. And some of the absolute fucking simian brain level shit that Brett will do in fighting games to debate people.
Oh, you weren't thinking about when Ant just grabbed looped me and I just gave up?
No, because here's the thing. Ant will run up and grab loop you. God. Brett will go, hey, yo, watch me grab you real quick. And you're like, you're not good. He did it. And he'll do it like, over and over again.
Surely he wouldn't tell me.
Surely that's the most unsafe option right now. There's no way he'll get the grab off. I'm out of range, and then he'll run up and do it. You're like,
I should have listened to him.
I was like, I didn't think he could pull it off, but he did, and now I'm getting waxed, and like, there's nothing I can do about it. Apologies. Keep going.
Anyway, yeah. Then there's they give you like a generic harmless creature non-combatant stat block, which I guess I don't know if it necessarily is going to come up a lot, but sure.
No, actually, I think that's pretty useful to have like because how many times do people like, you know, the joke about a villager having 3 hit points?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like having a generic one though, like it's so generic that it, like, I don't know that I'm ever gonna. I mean, I guess the idea is you could just adjust it anyway. So I don't know, whatever. Then we get into Malice. So like I said before, the heroes have the heroic resource. The GM, the director, has Malice. Malice is not on a creature by creature basis. Malice is for the entire battle, like the entire group of monsters. Basically, you start the combat and you start with a certain amount of Malice, and then every round it goes up based on the number of heroes, and you could spend that Malice on special abilities. Like I said, that will be either in the stat block or be for a group of monsters. And then the 2 basic ones are Brutal Effectiveness and Malicious Strike. Brutal Effectiveness is a basic potency increase that costs 3 Malice, and the Malicious Strike is just dealing extra damage to a target, basically. The way the Malice math works out at the start is... I don't know if it's just how they worded it or what, but I remember the first time I read this, I had to reread it like 2 or 3 times because I was like, what? I was like, I am not understanding this math. It's not that hard. So at the start of the combat, you gain Malice equal to the average victories.
I was reading it again. No, you're right. This did the absolute dog shit on me.
It confused me the way they worded it. Equal to the average number of victories per hero, right? Then at the start of each combat round, you gain Malice equal to the number of heroes in the battle plus the combat round number. I think the combat round number is what threw me off. So, for instance, if you have 5 heroes with 3 victories that are starting round 1, you begin that combat with 9 Malice. 3 for the average number of victories, 5 for the number of heroes, and then 1 for the first round of combat. For some reason, the 1 for the first round of combat just really did not compute my brain. It makes sense. I was really overthinking it. I don't know. Then at the start of the next round, provided all the heroes are still alive, you gain 7 malice. 5 for the number of heroes plus 2 for the second round. So you don't gain that initial malice from the victories is only at the very start. If a hero dies, they stop generating malice for you. At the end of the encounter, any unused malice is lost. So that's it. And then, yeah, like I said, they spend the malice just like heroes use it on heroic abilities. You burn the malice and you do the thing, whatever the thing is. Boom, bang, boom. Then we get into the minion rules, of which there's a decent amount of stuff, actually. So, essentially, minions get grouped up as a squad. And you take the stamina of each. Yeah, you take the stamina of each minion and then smash it together, and that is the stamina pool of the entire minion squad. And so if the minions have 5 stamina and there's 4 of them, you smash them together, you'd get 20. For every 5 health lost from minions getting hit, a minion in the squad dies.
Well, so it's not specifically 5 health. It's every amount of health that whatever, a minion would have. So, like, it could be. I didn't say it was 5 health. I said if the minions have 5 health and there are 4 in the squad, then it would be 20. And then, yeah, I know it's not always 5. I'm just saying, yeah, if they have the example it gives, they have 4, so it ends up being 4 and 4. You get 16. Yeah. Had to think about that one. And then I think it recommends in terms of size. I think it says you want to cap out at like 8. Is like you don't want to go higher than 8 to a squad. And then, yeah, like I said, so whenever the minion squad's stamina pool is reduced by an amount equal to an individual's minion stamina, a minion dies or is otherwise taken out of the fight. So for the spine cleavers, the goblin spine cleavers, is the stamina pool is taken from 40 to 35. One of the goblins goes down. Hold on. Hold on. The deals. Yeah. If the minions take damage from any source other than area of effect, the damage reduces the squad's stamina pool by amount of the damage equal to the stamina of 2 or more minion. Brain? Reduces a minion's squad stamina pool by an amount of damage equal to the stamina of 2 or more minions. Multiple minions are taken out by the damage. So, wow, I'm really cooked. What the fuck? Why is this? I've already read this before, and I'm now confusing myself again. I understand it completely. Like I said,
the minions are a little canoodly in a way that I felt like was maybe unnecessary.
I wanted to talk about this for a second. Is this how they did minions in Fantasy Flight? No, right? I didn't read Minions from Fantasy Flight, but having fought a lot of them, I feel like that system was a little bit more intuitive. Am I crazy for thinking that?
So the main thing with how it was done in Fantasy Flight is that minions were all smashed together as like a single unit, and they couldn't. Well, okay, so here's the problem. Fantasy Flight didn't use a grid for like movement and positioning and stuff, right? So you didn't have to worry about where all the minions were positioned. They were just one singular unit, and then you only had to worry about how far or close they were to the player, right?
Right.
So that was the thing that made it easier to deal with. So in that case, they were just essentially, if you imagine them on a board, minions were all represented by one token. In this game, because the grid is so important, the minions can move freely away from each other. But basically the idea is they have 20 health. If you hit one of the minions and deal 12 damage, if you hit one of the minions in the group and deal 12 damage, right, you kill 2 of them, and then the other 2 damage rolls over to the 3rd minion. That's the important thing.
Right, yes.
That's the important point. So like what it says is allow the player to narrate how their hero takes out an additional minion killed by a single attack. For instance, if a goblin spine cleaver takes 12 damage from the Fury's brutal slam, maybe the minions surround the hero who make a brutal who makes a brutal weapon strike that cuts through multiple targets with a single action. Maybe the body of the original target is hurled into an unfortunate ally. Maybe additional minions affected by a single target strike pass out from the fright. Taking out multiple minions is a chance to play up the cinematics. Basically, the point being, even if they are nowhere near each other, you smack the one minion for a lot of damage, the leftover damage rolls over to his buddies. That's the important thing. That's the crux of it. That's the main thing that makes minions easier to cut through, or cut down, as it were. Right? Get it?
No, I get it. I'm agreeing with you. I think that there was a simpler way of doing this, and I feel like
there might be.
Because I as I was reading this, my head kept going, why didn't you just use hordes or swarms? So like one big token. Like, I get they want to do the positioning thing, and that
I think that's really all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a lot. It seems like a lot to keep track of in a game that's trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to streamline things. This is the opposite of the intended effect.
It's like I said, it's a little noodly, but also it's probably not as bad as we're feeling about it. It probably is fine once you play with it. I get the feeling it's one of those things that takes a little bit of time to get your brain straight about.
Maybe, for sure.
That being said, I'm now going to describe how area of effects work with minions, which I'm confused by this.
I think I missed this, to be honest.
So I'm going to read this verbatim, and then you listen and tell me if this makes more sense to you. So it says, minion squads are particularly susceptible to damage-dealing area abilities that target multiple creatures because the minion squad's stamina pool takes damage each time an individual minion takes damage. However, such area effects can kill only those minions who are in the area. For example, a tier 3 outcome from the Talent's Incinerate deals 6 fire damage to each target in its area. If 3 goblin spine cleavers with 5 stamina are caught in the area, the minion pool loses 15 stamina instead of 18 stamina, leaving the other minions in the squad unscathed. The thing I don't understand about that, doesn't that mean they're less susceptible to area of effect than single target damage?
Yes, because a single target can wipe things that are not in the direct
vicinity. Can cleave through. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand. I feel like there's something I'm missing here. Maybe I'm misreading the single target damage pit, but I don't think so.
I'm going to be honest. That seems a little counterintuitive. I really don't know. Right? I'm sure there is a reason, but
yeah, because again, the paragraph before, if a minion takes damage from any source except an area of effect, and that damage reduces a minion squad's stamina pool by amount of damage equal to the stamina pool of 2 or more minions, multiple minions are taken out by the damage. After dropping any minions who took the damage first, the minion nearest to those taken out suffer the same fate. So the damage will roll over if you single target them. The damage will not roll over if you area of effect them. So like, no comprende.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that through testing, they were like, oh, just murking whole squads with spells is way more effective than we wanted it to be, so we're just gonna have to...
No, I just realized what it is. I just realized it. I just mathed it. Yes, I just had a Eureka right now, right this second. Okay. Let me see if I can explain this in a way that you'll also get it. So, okay. The single target damage attack is 12 damage. So the Fury that deals the 12 damage hit the entire minion stamina pool for 12. Right?
Okay.
The Talent's Incinerate only deals 6 damage, but because they caught 3 minions in it, it ends up being 15 damage. If it was a single target ability, it would have only been 6 damage. But because it's an AoE and they could catch all 3 of them, it ends up dealing way more to the pool.
Okay, so follow-up question then. Now that the pool has less damage than it should, but more enemies than it has, what do you do then?
What do you mean?
So if it does 15 damage and you've not hit as many enemies, right, the total pool has dropped below what the enemies you have are, right? Am I missing something?
Huh? What did you just say? I don't even know what you just said to me. Wait, what?
Hold on.
Read
that to me again. Read it to me again.
Or that was me.
Explain it to me again. That's what I'm saying.
So normally, like if you imagine they aren't minions for a second, right? And the talent drops an Incinerate and deals 6 damage. Everyone in that group is just taking 6 damage. Because they're minions and their health is tied together, it's dealing 15 damage because you have to think of a minion group as like a singular enemy. So effectively, you're dealing more damage than you would to a singular enemy. Like hitting one dude with the AoE in the Incinerate would deal 6 damage to the one guy. Hitting the minions with the Incinerate is dealing 15 damage.
To one guy, which brings the entire health pool down 15 points. Right, that's what I'm saying.
15
points,
So now
you have more enemies than the health pool should have health of.
No. Because they all die. Because the 3 minions caught in it die because they only have 5 health. And there's 1 minion left out of the 4.
I'm not getting this.
So, okay, are you looking at the diagram?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so you see those 3 spine cleavers in that AoE are dead.
Yes.
They're gone. So the stamina pool is only 5 left for the last spine cleaver alive because they each have 5 health.
Right.
There's only 1 guy left. So the talent took out 3 dudes and there's 1 left.
Okay. All right. So yes, I guess I am getting it. I'm just sort of...
Effectively, the talent is getting more bang for their buck in terms of their damage than the Fury is on that single target.
Right, yes. Okay. So yeah, I am getting that. It just
because an ability it doesn't seem like it at first, but as I just worked it through my head, basically an ability that would normally do 6 damage to a singular guy is doing 15 damage to a singular guy. Because in terms of encounter value and enemy strength, right, you have to think of the minion group as one enemy, right? Because minion groups the individual minions are so weak, the group is the enemy, not any one individual guy. Yeah. So effectively, an AoE that would deal 6 damage to a platoon enemy is dealing 15 damage to a minion enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting it now. It's more noodly than I'd like.
It takes a minute to like I don't even think this is really their fault. I think it's just one of those that's just how math works situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is weird. But now that I've recontextualized, like I'm like, okay, I get there now. So I get what they're saying. So yes, it is more effective to hit the minions with fireball than to just smack them with your sword. It is. Even though that the rollover damage makes it seem like it's not, but it is. Yeah. Essentially, you could do more damage for less work, is another way to phrase it, right? The talent's AoE can deal out more damage for less effort.
Yeah.
And in a singular turn, too, right? Which is another thing you have to, like, action economy-wise. Yeah. If a minion has damage weakness or damage immunity, you apply the effects to the squad once, even if the multiple minions share the same immunity. Basically, if they have, fire weakness 5, it's not 15 for hitting each minion, it's 5 for you just the one instance. The effects are the last thing applied when calculating damage and can drop or save multiple minions from any source of damage, including area effects. Then it mentions prepping stamina pools for the minions. This is basically just saying write down each stage of however many points chunked down to count as a kill. Then it's how do minions act. So when minions act, they use their main action all together. Basically, they operate as a squad. They can burn their main action to do nothing, or they can use a maneuver to alleviate one circumstance on themselves, right? So if you catch one minion in a debuff, that one minion can burn their maneuver to get the debuff off of them, but then they are not part of the main action that the rest of the squad takes. They take themselves out of the squad action. And minions also have less action economy, so they can only take a move in a main action, a move in a maneuver, or 2 moves. So what that ends up breaking down to is they cannot do a main action and a maneuver, which is to say they can't do an action and a bonus action. They can do a bonus action and a move, they can do an action and a move, or they can do a double move, and that's it. So they're a little more limited. They can take opportunity attacks, but they usually will not have triggered actions. They won't have special triggered actions, they'll just have regular opportunity attacks. And then minions generally have a signature ability. That is, again, their entire group does the smack. Each target of a minion's signature ability is affected by only one instance of the ability, but when 2 or 3 at max of a squad's minions attack the same target or object simultaneously, each minion causes the signature ability to deal extra damage to the target equal to the minion's free strike value. So essentially, if you dogpile one thing, you get a flat bonus equal to the free strike value, which is typically going to be lower than the average damage of the ability on its own. Basically, what this ends up meaning, it is usually more effective to have minions target different heroes, not to dogpile one hero. That's what that shakes down to. If the minions get a crit, everyone in the squad gets to crit.
That's a little brutal.
Yeah. Or everyone, yeah. One minion crits, they all get to go again, basically, because again, you have to treat them as a singular unit. The problem, the noodliness of the minions in this game really comes down to the fact that most of the time you treat them as one unit, but sometimes you have to kind of treat them as separate entities. You have to kind of bounce back and forth. That's where the real confusion comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that ultimately comes down to the way that the minions are moving around on the field and can move around separately from each other and whatnot. But yes, the idea of why not just make them a swarm, I could see an argument there for sure.
It just you'd be sacrificing your maneuvering. That's for sure.
Would, yes.
And I know how much Matt likes the maneuvering, but I
yes.
kind of have to play this game of you sacrifice your maneuvering, but you cut out 5 or 6 different really noodly fringe rules.
Yes.
And clearly he thinks that it's worth it.
I mean, they're not that fringe, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Clearly he thinks it's worth it, so who am I to argue? But yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those things, right? Who am I to argue? Then there's a little bit about minions maneuvers. They can do grab, hide, and knock back and search, blah, blah, blah. If the minions, you roll for the whole squad, like you can only be affected one at a time. Again, treating the minions like one unit. Free strike, if several minions in the squad free strike the same target, such as a hero provoking opportunity attack, the damage from each minion's free strike is added together and treated as one strike. Again, treating them as one unit. If you use multiple squads made up of the same type of minions in encounter, it is important to make it easy for the players to tell the squads apart. So just let the players know. Basically, it's saying if you have two groups of 4 that are the same monster stat block, make sure the players understand that it is 2 separate minion groups. And again, the reason that's relevant is because of the damage splash over. So they can know who they're targeting, basically, or which squad is taking damage. You can also attach a squad captain to a minion squad. Captains aren't necessarily strategic leaders or anything like that. They might just be more powerful creatures. But basically, a squad of minions can have a captain, and a creature can't be a captain to more than one squad. A captain takes their turn at the same time as the minion members of their squad, but isn't limited in their action options as minions are. A captain's stamina also isn't added to the minion's stamina pool, and is tracked the same as other creatures. While a minion squad has a captain, each minion in the squad gains the benefit noted at the with captain entry in their stat block. Usually this benefit is a damage boost or a speed boost or something like that. Basically, if they have a captain, they're a little stronger. If a squad of minions loses their captain, a new allied creature can become the squad's captain at the start of the next round, no action.
I think that's an interesting rule. I would want one caveat to that rule.
Okay.
I would want there to be something like a battle shock test that you see in games like Warhammer, where it's like the captain has died, the squad leader has died. Have the squad make a battle shock to see if they can maintain cohesion, or they break apart.
Yeah.
And if they break apart, then they can't have a new captain.
Yeah. Then we get to encounter building. So, all right, I'm not going to go through this on a clinical step by step because it's not like interesting.
Can't be fucked. About, really. Yeah, fair.
Yeah. But I'll kind of give you the broad strokes here. So basically, they break down the order of operations. It's like 10 steps or something, 9 steps. How many? Actually, before I talk out my ass here. Oh no, it's 5 steps. Wow, 5 steps. I way over exaggerated that. I don't know why I did that. But basically, it's just advice on how to build an encounter, right? You've seen this kind of thing in D&D. Things that are worth bringing up. So encounter difficulty, you have trivial, easy, standard, hard, and extreme encounters. And effectively, these are just like your easy, medium, hards in D&D. With the, obviously there's 5 in this game. So you have trivial and extreme on the far ends. Trivial encounters get you no reward. Easy encounters would probably get you 1 victory. A standard encounter would probably get you 1. A hard encounter will get you 2. An extreme could get you 2 or more. Basically, because this game doesn't use XP on a monster by monster basis, thank God. Fuck that noise. The type of the encounter dictates how many victory points you give to the players, which dictates their XP. Boom, bang, boom. Nice and simple. Also, can I just say too, with the whole victory system in this game, I like that victories are tossed out for all sorts of different challenges and stuff, because it means you can keep the leveling momentum and the pacing and stuff good without having to be fight after fight after fight after fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's really something. The fact that effectively this game has a built-in mechanic for quest XP and puzzle XP and fight XP and all these different, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for fear of getting locked in the pillory again by the comment section, yes, the victories are a lot more robust than I gave them credit for.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I just like having a system that rewards the different elements of expected play, right? And not being too like locked into any one mentality, right? Because that's the thing. A lot of people play D&D and want to do like puzzles and like montage style challenges and stuff like that. And they're like, they feel like it should be XP worthy because you're doing the adventuring thing, but the game rules as written kind of doesn't do that, except it kind of does and kind of doesn't. It's weird because the DMG does actually show hints of saying you should do that, but doesn't really tell you how very well.
Yeah, it doesn't really explain how the fuck you're supposed to go about it. Yeah.
It does very briefly in the 2024 DMG, but yeah, I would like a little more to that. And it does actually give an example. Those little mini adventures in the 2024 DMG do actually give examples of rewarding quest XP in there. So they've thought about it, but they like didn't bring enough attention to it, I guess is the easiest way to put it. Once you have determined your like what challenge level the encounter, so you know, easy or standard or hard or whatever. And I mean, I don't need to explain what those mean, right? No, I'm not. What am I asking?
You good?
Huh?
So you good?
I was about to explain what those like encounter words means, and I was like, why am I trivial, easy, standard, hard, extreme? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think you need to. So then you need to determine your encounter strength, which is basically your budget for how many monsters you can put in there. Or no, sorry. The encounter strength is roughly how powerful the players are. So to determine how many creatures and other types of challenges you have in an encounter, you need to figure out the hero's encounter strength. A party's encounter strength is used as a benchmark for buying monsters for your encounter, as explained below. So you calculate the party's strength. So in the example it gives, you start at a baseline of 4, and then you add 2 for each level of the heroes. For instance, a 3rd level hero has an encounter strength of 10, so 4, and then 2 plus 2 plus 2, because they're level 3. And then you add them all together. So if you have a group of 5 3rd level heroes, your encounter strength is 50. Then, you do also have to factor in victories. So for every 2 victories that the heroes have on average, increase the party's encounter strength as if there was another hero in the party. So if the 3rd level heroes have 2 victories, increase the encounter score by 10. So basically every 2 victories you slap another player in there, another hypothetical
I thought it was
player.
Increase it by 4.
No, it'd be 10 for that one.
Oh.
Every 2 victories counts as 1 more PC.
Yeah, but I didn't know if they specified PC at level or PC base.
At level. Yeah. For instance, if a 3rd level hero, if a party of 3rd level heroes has 2 victories, increase the encounter score by 10. If they had 6 victories, you would increase the encounter score by 30. Because
there it is.
6 victories would be 6 victories would be adding in 3 more characters.
Yeah.
The reason for that being victories make it that when they start fights, they have more of their heroic resource, so they will be able to dump out more damage or more effects or whatever right from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
Then once you have your encounter strength of your characters, you then compare that to the degree of encounter you want to do. So for an example, if you want to have a standard encounter, the standard encounter will have a budget that is between the encounter strength of the heroes and the party's encounter strength plus the encounter strength of one hero. So effectively, if their encounter strength is 50 and you want it to be a standard encounter that they're facing, you have a budget between 50 and 60 for your encounter value of the enemies, right? Because it's encounter strength plus one hero. A hard encounter would be the the party's encounter strength plus 3 heroes. So in that case, you'd go from you'd have between a budget of 50 and 80. Yeah. Once you have the value, you then spend money. You then spend the encounter value on the creatures that you have. And basically, if a creature has an encounter value of 10 and you have a budget of 60, subtract 10 from the 60, you have 50 left over. That's it. That part's easy. The only part that's a little tricky is like figuring out what your player's encounter strength is and then comparing at the various degrees of encounter of trivial, easy, standard, etc. That's where it can get, a little like numbers, noodly
a little
numbers.
Weird. Yeah.
And then also creatures have levels, which basically you don't want to go greater than 2 levels of the heroes. So for instance, creatures of level 7 and below are appropriate for 5th level heroes. If the heroes have 6 or more victories, you can push the upper limit to within 3 levels of the heroes. It doesn't say beyond that, and I think the reason it doesn't say beyond that is because it's unlikely for your characters to get past 6 victories. That's kind of a lot. They probably won't have the resources to keep going at that point.
6 is the limit for what the game says they should be doing without a respite.
Yeah, because 6 would mean 6 encounters of some kind, right? So that could be like 3 fights and 3 montages or like, so unlikely for you to go beyond 6. Ironically, that's also the number that, and maybe not ironically, but funny enough, that's also the number that D&D recommends.
It is, yeah.
6 standards, I think is what it, or 6 medium or whatever. Yeah. Whenever you buy minions for encounter value, group them in 4s. Purchase them in sets of 4, basically. You can also split the minions up in whatever way you want. So, don't go higher than a squad of 8, though. But so if you had 8 minions, you could have 1 squad of 8 or 2 squads of 4 or a squad of 3 and a squad of 5 or a squad of 3, 3, 2. Basically, you can chop them up however you want. Don't do too many creatures. The game recommends don't go more than 8. In general, you don't want more than 8 creatures per hero. And then if the encounter has 3 creatures per hero, at least half of the creatures in the encounters you probably want to be minions. Basically, don't, minions let you swarm, but don't swarm too much. Mostly A, because you don't want to like crush them, but also B, because for your own sanity of just keeping track of things.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's run minions in Lancer, and yes, Lancer's a little more noodly than this,
yes,
it do be getting a little crunchy, and you're kind of like, wait, what the fuck? Who does what now? Shit.
Yeah. And then it says, when it comes to number of stat blocks, you typically don't want to use more than 6 different kinds of stat blocks. 6 is a lot.
6 seems like a lot, yeah.
6 different stat blocks, bro.
Back to Lancer.
At 3, I'm like, huh.
Yeah, I mean, Lancer says, everyone who's run Lancer says 4. You want 2 attackers, like 2 different attack units, 1 defender, 1 supporter. That's the method for Lancer. And being more crunchy than this, I'm going to say 4.
Yeah. And then your last step is building your initiative groups. So I said that the way initiative works was the same as 5e. I like slightly misspoke in that technically you build the initiative groups yourself. But generally you're going to keep like, similar type. You're going to keep the same creatures together, but like you do technically build them yourself. Yeah. And then in terms of how many initiative groups, you want to have as many initiative groups as there are heroes, plus or minus 1 or 2, basically. Nice and simple. It gives a quick, it gives a quick encounter builder. Like, I don't even really Basically, it just tells you like basically it's like figure out how many heroes you have. Each hero is a slot. Throw in this many creatures per hero slot of each type of each organization if that you want to have in there. And then for like easy, medium, hard encounter, like subtract 1 hero slot or add 1 hero slot or whatever. And then throw in some dynamic terrain stuff to spice things up, basically. Yeah. And then it just tells you how to use creature roles and their organization. Now, I'm not going to go through this because, again, it's like kind of dry shit. But I really like that it's here because I just really love being like, you know, we give you these different types of monsters that do different things, right? We have ambushers and artillery and whatnot. Also, here's how to use them. Thank you. I would love 5e to do something close to this at least. I don't know about you, but like,
no, that's what I said before, right? The game, this rule book provides real, practical, useful information in like a tested setting.
Yeah,
I love that shit. Give me more of that, please.
And then after it describes how to use the heroes, or how to use the not the heroes, the creature organization types and everything, and the different kinds of creatures, it said, it also gives you guidance on if you want to turn a regular leader or an elite or something like that into a solo creature. It tells you how to like bump up their stats and make them a solo, which is nice. I like, that's definitely the ability to adjust big boys down or little guys up. Yes, please. And then it talks a little bit about how to choose maps, and you know, basically the crux of it is like, because this game is big on the tactics and the moving around and the positioning and so on and so forth, make sure there's terrain stuff around for them to do so. And then brain. Sorry. So after talking about the maps, it also tells you verticality is really useful in this game, which makes sense because, again, the like ability to move around a lot. It then talks about encounter objectives and different kinds of encounters that you can build. And what I really like about this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it would take forever, but and we're already, deep enough into this, but I love this. So essentially it gives you the last little chunk of the monster book is it tells you, all right, for this kind of encounter with this kind of objective, you want to have these kind of monster roles and organization, this kind of a map, this kind of difficulty adjustment, these kinds of win conditions, this is how many victories you want to deal with, and this is the kind of failure condition. And so what that means is...
blew me away about this? Do you know what these are?
What?
These are sit reps. These are literally sit reps.
Yeah. So these are great. Love the shit out of these. So like the first one on the list is just diminish the numbers, which is, the most obvious, like, right, beat them before they beat us. But then then you have defeat a specific foe, get the thing, destroy the thing, save something. And every single one of them has what kind of monster roles and organizations, what kind of maps, any kind of modifications to the difficulty based on the objective, what the win condition is, victory rewards, and then failure conditions. Yeah. Love it. And there's a bunch of them, right? Escorts in there. There's a hold them off one. Assault the defenses. Like, yeah, these are sick, and I definitely, if I was running this game, would definitely want to use these. I will say, by the way, I know when last time we were talking about this game, I was like, I don't know if I necessarily want to run draw steal. Reading through the monster book does start to make me want to run it a little bit. I don't know why.
I'm still kind of in the like meh.
I mean, it's fine. I know you hate this game, but
I don't.
For me,
no, here's the thing. I don't hate this game. I really don't hate this game. I don't know. I just don't want another medieval fantasy thing right now.
So easy to get your goat.
I've critiqued this game a lot over the 5 now episodes that we've done it, and I'm sure there is this belief that I do hate this game, and I don't hate this game. It does look really cool, and I do have ideas for characters. I just am not in love with it, and I think it's mainly because I just don't want another heroic fantasy at the moment.
I mean, sure, yeah, it is still doing the similar genre vibe to D&D at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I just don't get that sick of the heroic fantasy thing, right? I get sick of D&D from a mechanic standpoint more than anything.
I think I said it before. I gotta work this. I have to work games out of my system.
Sure.
So I still want to play Daggerheart. We're working through Fabula right now, and what was the other game I was looking at that I wanted to play? Avatar Legends, which is like, and it is heroic fantasy of another kind.
Different vibe, very different vibe.
Once I get those off the table, I'm sure I'm gonna think about Draw Steel and be like, shit, I kind of want to play the fuck out of this now.
There's a good chance. Well, anyway, as someone who doesn't hate the game like Isaiah, reading through the monster book has sort of enticed me to want to run it more for sure. Especially when I looked at the encounter object, the sit reps, as it were. These definitely made me like, ooh, all right. You know what I mean?
One thing I have to say for this game, encounter objectives is a better name than sit reps.
Yeah, sit reps makes sense thematically, you know.
And it makes sense thematically in Lancer, but if you're trying to explain sit reps to people...
Explain it, yeah.
People are like, well, what the fuck is a sit rep? And you're like...
Yeah. It works in the genre of the game, but is a little confusing outside. Yeah. Also, not to bring up the art thing again, but I just want to point out this piece of art on page 19 of the house that's like burning down in green fire. Love that. Love this one a lot.
Yes.
And you know why? Because it feels a little brushier, a little looser, a little more energy to it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, especially the dude in the foreground, I like that the lighting on him feels very brushy, like very washed on there, very like quick, with a quick hand, you know?
Oh, same thing. I mean, if you look at the orc and her little man thing over in the corner, very similar vibe, very brushy, very gestural.
Orc and her man thing. What are you talking
about? On page 6, the orc and the captive.
Oh God, I gotta hold on. Wait, now I gotta. Oh no, I had to. I'm scrolling. Oh yeah. Scrolling. Yes, I do like that one too. Actually, yeah.
And page 17, like right above the fire when you get that like hyper rendered, a little more like what we've expected so far from it, and you're just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, that's yeah. But yeah, like in general, I've been liking the art better in the. We said this before we started recording, but I've been liking the art better in the monster book for sure.
Mm-hmm. There's one piece of art that drives me up a wall. In this book, I'm wondering if you can guess which one it is.
I can't. No, I can't even like. I don't.
Really?
I don't know.
It's the one on page 28 with the definitely not beholder. The tiefling or the devil with that cloak made of. It looks like a scrotum. Like, I don't know what they were going for. I don't know what the intent was, though. It doesn't work on any level. It looks just.
You mean the one with the hero turned to stone at the forefront?
Yes. Okay. Is it that he?
I think he's turned to stone. Yeah. If you actually mouse over the image, it has a little descriptor.
I was wondering if that was. Yeah, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not clear because his feet are still red. So I just figured he was wearing a cloak or some armor or some shit.
No, the feet are red from the light. The light of the like whatever's the magical effect in front of him. But I think the intention of that piece is to get a little Frank Frazetta with it, a little older school oil painting D&D.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which is why it feels a little almost like has like a little bit of a lumpiness to it in a way.
Yeah, but that texture, that cragginess just kind of looks like veins on a nutsack, and
oh well, that's okay.
Not a vibe. This could just be a problem of composition. If we saw the character's face, you could have it locked in like have it look panicked or scared or something like that. Seeing it from behind, you're just like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
To be clear, it's better than anything I can draw, but
right. I mean, that's
Inversely, the Frogman on page 34 is my favorite. I love him so much. He looks so happy.
The Frogman. Yes. The Angolots.
The Angolotl, yeah.
Angolot, yes, I can't remember. Yeah, Angolotls, yes. They're cool.
He looks so happy. He's so excited. He's like, random bullshit, go.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing.
Gotcha, bitch.
So, the last little bit of the sort of opening section of this book, it just talks about running the encounters, remembering to use default maneuvers, keeping the creatures moving, spread the damage around, modify the stamina as you see fit, use reinforce, just kind of general running encounter advice. And then the last little, the last chunk with some technical stuff to it. It tells you how to reskin monsters. If you're like, oh, this monster works, but I need something different. It's like just reskin shit, which, obviously, of course. They give you the math on adjusting monster levels and adjusting. Basically, they tell you how they do their math. So if you want to make your own monster or change how the math works for your monster, this is the method that you can use to do so. It's very new. It's noodly math. So like, I'm not necessarily going to like describe it here, but basically it's like you have the role or the organization of the monster, and then you have a roll modifier and a damage modifier. And then you also have an organization modifier, and then you plug those modifiers into some equations they give you to figure out encounter value, stamina, damage, power roll tiers, characteristics, the save abilities and how they should work. Basically, this is roughly how we math out our monsters. It is not 100% how they math out their monsters, because for sure I did a couple compare and contrasts of some stat blocks versus the math, and for sure the math is like an average, but it is not how they use it. They don't stick to it 100%, which I wouldn't expect them to. But it's a great starting. But basically, it's a little mini advanced fuckery chapter, which I always love.
It's also worth mentioning that they specifically tell you, like, it's not a perfect system. There is no perfect system.
Yes.
You are going to have to take a little bit of onus and play with it.
Figure it out. Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
That being said, when I started looking over the math, when I just give my initial look at it, my brain did a little, what? Huh? What are we doing here? Took me a minute to because I looked at the tables and it said like the roll modifier and the damage modifier, and I was like, wait, where do those plug in? What do those apply to? And then I looked at the equations and I was like, what? And I had to do the flip between the pages a couple of times before I could make sense of it.
I'm going to be honest. I read this bit, didn't really get it, and went, he's probably going to explain it.
It's basically if you want to build your own monster or adjust the numbers of an existing monster, this is how you can go about it.
Yeah, that I get, but I didn't really understand, like you said, where things plug into what they're about.
Yeah, if you just take a moment and follow the equations step by step, they do make sense. You just have to kind of take the time to go through them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so that's like that. Then that's the end of the general rules, and then it's just stat blocks, baby. So I don't know, you got a stat block you want to jump around to? Anything that really spoke to you?
I mean, I definitely like Ajax's stat block. He's got a lot of shit going on. And
yeah, can I just say, by the way, actually, since you're mentioning Ajax, I think it's really funny that the very first monster in this book is the like the Tarrasque, basically. Like, he's the highest, he's the most powerful, most dangerous, most complicated monster in the whole monster book, and he is the first thing listed. And I just kind of love that. Like,
he's
it's
really cool.
Just crazy.
Like,
he is, yeah.
The stuff he does, like size 1 large, speed 7, 700 stamina, 2 stability, free strike, 11 damage, no immunities, no weaknesses, has hover. Everything from his blade and how much that does, or like his ability to just command people, or essentially use the he kind of has like a weird version of the law blasphemy from Kane, where you just sort of set battlefield rules.
Yep.
The like, is that what they taught you, or who's hesitating? Like, they're not actually rules, but it almost feels like the character, the boss is setting rules down. Like, I don't know how else to put it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're hitting on is that he has very thematically fun abilities that invoke his vibe as a like tyrannical king.
Yeah,
you know.
Where's that thing he has? It's called like reasoning. Yeah, reason. Ajax attempts to instill doubt into a creature with a line of effect of logic and reason. The creature and Ajax make opposed reason checks. If Ajax wins, he chooses either to deal 11 damage to one target on his next strike, to gain or to gain an additional triggered action. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah. This is he's hitting you with his villain speech before he hits you.
He literally has an ability called fucking draw steel, and
he has
and it's the oh god, it's Paladin has this in fucking 14 with like the swords that shoot out of the ground.
Yeah.
Oh god, what's that called?
I can't remember either, but I know what you're talking about.
It's not Paladin, it's Dark Knight.
No, it's Paladin.
Is it is Paladin?
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe they drop from the sky more. Oh no, they have one that does come up from the ground, and then they have the different one that comes from the sky. Yeah, Paladin summons a bunch of swords in that game.
Yeah, I know Darkblade has an equivalent. Is it like teeth that it does, or horns, or?
It's more like teeth. Yeah, it has unleash is more like teeth. Yeah, it says Ajax raises the blade of the Ghoul King above his head as 4 giant blades emerge from the ground to fill the area. Each target is pushed into an unoccupied space adjacent to the area after the power roll is resolved. Each blade blocks line of effect and can be dismissed by Ajax at will.
Very cool.
So, yeah, just summons up a bunch of weapons, and it's called Draw Steel because, of course, it is. That's his level. That's his 10 spender malice ability. So it's his highest cost malice ability. Also, I like that. I love that the reason thing you were talking about is literally just like him talking shit before he slaps you around.
You know, it's funny. He's not even. He's like, look, you really don't want to do this. Like,
yeah. He's basically like, you don't want this smoke, bro. You ain't gonna win.
Yeah. This is,
and then he slaps you.
This is what I was talking about before podcast with fucking Sephiroth and Dissidia. Every villain talks wild shit, and he's like,
yeah,
no, I don't think you understand. I'm literally him. I don't think you get that. I'm that guy. I will fucking annihilate. I don't care that you're Garland or Golbez or Esdeath. I will slide you.
Yep. It's true. Yeah, and again, first stat block, which is just so funny. So a thing that I really like to, there's quite a few things in terms of the stat block. So did you look at the animals at all?
I looked at them a little bit. When I saw that they were generic stat blocks, I skimmed them a little more. I know you can.
Did you look at the
traits? Yes,
before.
I did look at them.
Yeah. So the thing so the thing that I love, so the animal section doesn't actually start with stat blocks. It starts with animal traits that you can plug in or pull out of the default animal. Like the generic animal stat blocks are just that. They're like big animal, small animal, water animal, whatever. But you can slot in, there's mobile traits, defensive traits, offensive traits, and supernatural traits. So, if you want to make like a fucking squid, there's this trait that makes them multi-limbed. If you want to make a panther, there's one that's a pouncing trait. And then it gives a couple examples of animals that would be used by. So like there's one that's called Frenzy under the offensive traits, and it says blood bats, piranhas, sharks. And then there's supernatural traits like elemental or gelatinous or death fumes, which you take damage from being around him because he's stanky. And I just love the idea of, I mean, I always love mix and match Build-A-Bear monsters in general in games, but it being animals, I feel like is really cool. Like I wouldn't think to do that with just regular animal stat blocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you either want to try to make one for everything or do the newer D&D where they're just generics. I think this is honestly the way to do it.
And then there's also a table of like thematic draw steel animals, and it says, so like a rot bat, for example, it says their environment and then which stat block to use, which generic stat block, and then give them the traits flight, hunter, and elemental, and then that makes it a rot bat. And I was like, oh yeah, I love that. Sick. Another thing that they did in this book that I like is not for everything, but for a lot of monster types, they actually have multi-echelon versions, right? So the echelon are the tiers in this game. So like the demons, for example, you get to the demon section and you're like, okay, demons, but then there's first echelon demons, second echelon demons, third echelon, and fourth echelon. So basically, you can use them throughout the entire game. They also did this for undead and the war dogs. And the reason I like this a lot is because there's certain types of enemies, undead being a perfect example, right? I think a lot of people like do this with undead where you're like, I want to use undead for my whole fucking campaign, or like most of the campaign, right? Like I want undead, they're like constantly fighting undead, right? But in a game like D&D, there will be certain levels you get to where there's like a gap and you're like, there's no undead that apply in this range. So what do I use? And then you start like cobbling together like, I'll take this monster and turn it into an undead something or whatever. Or the other problem is there's a couple of undead stat blocks at the level you want, but there's only like one or two and you don't want to keep reusing the same monster over and over again. So the fact that they broke down the undead in this game into the various echelons. So at level, at echelon 1, which is, the bottom level stuff, you have your ghouls and your skeletons and your zombies or whatever. And then at echelon 4, you have, fucking liches and Dracolich shit and skeleton knights and all that fun shit. So that's a fun one. I thought it was funny that, I don't know if you noticed, there's no generic vampire stat block. Instead, there's Count Rodar Van Glauer.
I didn't.
Von Glauer? Yeah. So there's no generic vampire. The only vampire stat block is a named dude, Count Rodar Von Glauer. And he's kind of like, he's not as strong as Ajax, but he's pretty close. And he's like a big dick vampire boss. Basically, he's Strahd, right? He's the Strahd equivalent.
Yeah.
He also has a lot of really cool abilities, as you might imagine.
Is he a rival? Where is he in? What section is he in?
He's literally right above Lich. He's under undead, right above Lich.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. He's in kind of a weird spot. There is a Lich stat block in case anyone's worried about that.
Why is the elf Lich so pretty?
Why are you asking questions?
He's a very pretty man.
He's a sexy Lich. I don't
like the idea of a sexy Lich.
He does have a giant hole in his chest, though. That's a little concerning.
Yeah, so does the new assistant character in Code Vein. I'm not judging.
Sure. Yes. What Isaiah is referencing is the full page art of the Lich. He's kind of hot, which I
really appreciate that fucking Count Rodar. They were just like, we need to instill as much Alucard vibes into this character as humanly possible.
He is very Alucard. Yeah, it's true.
The pretty white hair, the big cloak, cool the sword. Yeah, the like spears made of blood.
Yep. What a Chad.
Yeah.
Other notable, there's a lot of the monsters you would expect. They have an Eryx, which is a fucking, what are they called? The brain. I love this monster and I can't even think of their name.
D&D, the Onkegs.
Big Onkegs. Yeah, they have Eryx, which are like their Onkegs. They have the Ungulattles that Isaiah mentioned, which are like your frog dudes. They have there's basilisks and bugbears and chimeras. The usual fare. But a couple fun notable. Oh, there's the Kingfisher worm. I thought that's a fun one. It's Shai-Hulud. It's Shai-Hulud.
Yeah.
Although a little more spiky. Another fun one. There's the voiceless talkers, which Matt hates. He hates these dudes because he thinks they are too sci-fi. But basically, they're
too fucking sci-fi. But the Ashen Hoarder isn't.
I don't know if he said anything about the Ashen Hoarder, I'm gonna be honest.
It's a quadruped bone mech armored core.
It's a bone mech. Yeah, it's a big bone mech. The voiceless talkers, what I was gonna say, are your Illithid. They're your mind flayer guys. They have mind killers, which are floating brains with tentacles coming off their head, which also have a spinal column coming out from the bottom of the floating brain, which is awful. Hate that. A little
horrifying. Yeah.
Ugh.
And they have a king.
They have a king.
Lord Seul.
Lord Seul. The voiceless talkers, unlike Illithid, where their faces are tentacles. No, the voiceless talkers are just entirely made of tentacles.
Yeah.
They're awful.
The thing that bugs me is not the spinal cord, it's the fact that they have crab legs.
They do have crab legs. Yes, the floating brains have crab legs.
They remind me of fucking Shamshell from Evangelion, the big manta ray with the lightsaber tentacles.
I definitely don't remember that thing, but I'll take your word for it.
I will send you a picture.
Fair enough. Fun little lore tidbit with the Lord Seul and the voiceless talkers. So, Matt did a lore stream a little while ago. Or he did a Patreon lore stream that he put on YouTube for free recently. And so the Ajax has these undead I feel like we have to bring these guys up. Ajax has these... Oh, it does kind of look like that Ava monster. Ajax has these things called the War Dogs, and they are dead people and body parts that get thrown into a giant vat of body parts called the body banks. And then you pull biological material out of the body banks and make it into a person-shaped thing, a vaguely person-shaped thing, and that's a War Dog. So basically, they're like horrifying body horror Frankenstein monster soldiers, and they are what make up Ajax's immortal army. How he plans to peacefully rule the world with peace. The thing that's kind of funny about them, though, is that the body banks and the technology to make the War Dogs comes from the voiceless talkers, and Lord Seul specifically is the one who taught him how to do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so the Mind Flayers taught the awful tyrannical king how to make horrifying Frankenstein's monsters soldiers. The War Dogs are another enemy type that they put in the game that have stat blocks at every echelon, at all 4 echelons, because they expect you to use them a lot, basically. Because they are kind of they're the army of the main bad guy. Ajax the Invincible is kind of the main bad guy of the setting, so these guys are the soldiers of the main bad guy. I mentioned that groups of enemies will have group malice effects. So if you go to the section with the War Dog's first echelon, it says War Dog Malice, and it says at the start of any War Dog's turn, you can spend Malice to activate one of these features. So anything that falls under this group can use these abilities. And the War Dogs cover all sorts of different, like they have dudes with guns and big brute guys and wizard war dogs and fucking weird like technomancer psionic war dogs and war dogs with twin flamethrower sticks, basically. Just all sorts of chain whips and like all sorts of the art of them is very cool, but also they are kind of horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the War Dogs are probably my favorite.
I had a feeling.
Monsters. Not just because they are, as you put it, very 40K coded.
They're very 40K coded.
They just have so much personality.
They have aura, you might say.
Well, that too, but they have a lot of personality. Like the weird Sevlar chem dog with the twin flamethrower torches has a different personality than the Eviscerite with the cool chain flail, who has a different personality than the Telatolite, who looks like an honorable warrior. Like they have like
vibes to them.
Yeah, like each character you could feel like, oh, this is just a nameless enemy, but if you wanted them to be cool and have a personality, you could make them as complex or as simple as you wanted, and it would be completely valid.
Yeah. And it does also specifically say at the beginning of the War Dog section, there is some monsters have more lore than others, depending on how important they are. But it mentions at the beginning of the War Dog section that the War Dogs aren't undead. They are they have minds and wills and drives. Like they are people. They're not just zombies. However, they are heavily brainwashed. So they have personality and like opinions and shit, but they won't betray Ajax because they're so indebted and brainwashed to him. The key difference is that they don't have souls. That's what makes them especially undead. And they're also really adherent to the chain of command. Like they're very militaristic and they don't ever break that military chain of command, literally.
Personal favorite of the Warhounds, I really like Iron Champion Doru. He's really cool.
Which one's that?
The dude who looks like Vandal Savage on page 317.
Yes. Yeah.
Just the big gamook with the crazy eyes and the laugh. Yeah, the ill muttons, exactly. I just like his abilities, things like Laugh It Off or the Scarless, Champion's Loyalty Collar. You're like, what the fuck does that mean? When you beat him, the collar explodes, blows his head clean off, and deals 20 damage to each enemy within 3 squares of him.
I think all the War Dogs have Suicide Squad collars. It is part of their lore too. I think they all have a loyalty collar.
Yeah.
The thing but like you were saying with Ajax, right? The abilities give you the vibe of the guy, right? So Iron Champion Doru, he has an ability called Laugh It Off, and you look at his art and he's this big Darius looking guy with a huge axe, massive arms, and he has this crazy Joker smile on him. So you see that, and then you look at the ability Laugh It Off, where he basically can ignore a debuff, and you're like, oh yeah, that absolutely fits the vibe I'm thinking.
You know what's great too is and we've talked about this several times, but I really like the way that the wording and the flavor of the abilities back up what the character is. If you're how do I want to play this character in this fight? Oh, he's got an ability called Laugh It Off. That tells you pretty much everything you need. This guy's a chest-pounding, maniacal psychopath. He's like Bane if Bane was the Joker. He also has an ability called Iron Juggernaut. Yeah.
Right? Which is another great example. Oh, okay. And if you look at that kind of stuff and you're still not 100% sure, you can look at his monster type. He's a brute. And you go, oh, okay, so I play him like a brute, right? That's why stuff like monster types like that are really helpful, because oh, okay, brute enemies, I want to, he's going to have this kind of a vibe to him.
You know what's also great? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were saying?
It's fine. I lost it, so go ahead.
He's got reason 1, intuition 4. He's quite smart.
Yeah.
Like his actual intelligence, his reason is only being +1. He's smarter than an average person. His intuition is really high. So this character is talking crazy shit to you the whole fight.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. It's all that. Yeah. And we're talking about the War Dog guys, but it really does apply to pretty much every stat block.
Mm-hmm.
Couple other little notable things I picked up on, and I'm sure there's stuff that I'll have forgotten about mentioning because there's good chunk of stat blocks. I mean, the book is like 400 pages something. There are rival stat blocks, and you may be like, rivals? What do you mean by rivals? They are rival classes. So rival conduit, rival elementalist, rival fury, rival null. They are literally stat blocks that are meant to be like enemy party that has the same class levels as the players. And that's just a fun idea that I feel like a lot of games don't touch upon. The idea of like, oh, they're like us but evil. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a concept that people kind of shit on in like movies and stuff, especially like superhero media, because it gets overused. But in the tabletop world, I feel like mechanically it doesn't get touched upon that much.
No, I don't think there's a lot of rule sets that provide you adequate, at the very least, jumping off points, right? Like,
yeah,
you kind of just have to go, like with D&D, more often than not, you're like, okay, I'm gonna make a champion or a warlord or whatever the fuck, and I'm just gonna pull some shit off a character sheet and stick it in there.
Yes. Yeah.
And that really never feels satisfying.
I mean, it could work, but yeah, it's like having stat blocks that are specifically for this purpose can feel a lot more satisfying, basically.
Yeah.
What was the other one? What was the other thing? Oh, and then you have the rivals. You also have your retainers, which is kind of its own little sub-mechanic. But basically, you can have sidekicks that will come along with you in fights, and then they provide with a bunch of retainers based on monster type, so like ambusher or artillery or controller, and then they give you various abilities for the monster type. I keep saying type, but that's what's the word I'm looking for? It's organization and something else. Why can't I think of what the other word is? Brain. What is it? Come on, it's not their where is it? Hold on. Vamp for me. I got this.
I vamp for you.
Roll is the word I was looking for. Their roll. Jeez, fucking Christ. Yeah. So they give you because retainers can level up with the party, so they give you a level up table, and then at levels 4, 7, and 10, they get an ability based on their role. So like ambusher versus controller versus artillery versus brute. And then you have a bunch of sample retainer stat blocks that start at level 1, and you could just, go down the list and level them up and boom, bang, boom. So you have like a bugbear commando, and there's an Angulot hopper and a devil defector and a nameless, which is a draconian dude, who I guess is supposed to be a dragon knight, I think. Point being, they give you it's like D&D's sidekick system, but more robust, I would say.
Definitely more robust, sure.
Yeah. And also retainers can potentially affect like downtime action stuff too, right? Like they can help you there depending on what what kind of person they are, whatever, what kind of retainer they are. So that's fun. I don't like is fun. I have another important. This is actually, before I say this, and then another thing. So you might be like, well, monsters and retainers and rivals and stuff. That's all well and good. What else you got in there? What about also dynamic terrain stat blocks?
Yes, that was a cool one.
Do you look at these?
Yeah, environmental hazards and like
yeah. So like angry beehive, brambles, corrosive pool, frozen pond. They are various dynamic terrain things that can be used as like a pseudo enemy, and they have their own encounter value and their own abilities to use and attacks and all this shit. So, and then they're broken up into environmental hazards, field work, mechanisms, power fixtures, siege engines, and supernatural objects. Which is sick. And the other thing that I particularly like about these is that because of the rules, because of how victories work, and because you have stuff like montage tests and whatnot, you can very easily work these kind of, because like D&D has a little bit of these, right? But they're kind of hard to work in sometimes because they don't follow the same flow as like regular monster stat blocks, and they might not have like XP attached to them and stuff. So like you might be like, all right, what do I do with these? And then also D&D doesn't have a lot of subsystems to properly utilize, not just, to properly utilize something other than like a fairly standard monster stat block. But with this game, because you have your montage tests and your like dungeon travel, basically the mechanical field is a little more open, so that slipping these in there is easier. So the dynamic terrain stuff, I was particularly like, ooh, I like this a lot. And it's one of those mechanics that I look at and go, oh, future Splat books are definitely going to be able to build on this in some cool ways,
Oh, for sure.
Like they set themselves up for future success with dynamic terrains for sure. I have to ask you a very important question though.
What up?
Did you look at the gnolls?
I did look at the gnolls. I really like them.
I was going to say, the gnolls are fucking sick.
They're so fucking cool.
Also, they have like evil wizard gnolls.
They do. Yeah, the fucking the abyssal summoner, the Tusker demon looks so gross but so sick.
The Tusker demon, the mage mauler. Yeah, like love it. They and there's a lot of gnolls. There's a lot more gnoll stat blocks than I was expecting, to be honest.
Yeah, there's
like,
quite a
there's
few.
It's not like there's as many as like war dogs, but there's still quite a lot of gnolls where I'm like, oh, you could really do something with some gnolls, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you got 11 of them. It's not bad.
Yeah. Also, I just need to bring up art briefly. Did you look at the full page art of the goblin section?
Horrifying.
Why she so thick?
She very thick. I cannot tell if that thing on the right is her boob or her shoulder.
Oh, it's boobs. Those are boobs in the front.
Those things are fucking.
She got. So there's a full page to describe what we're seeing here. There's a full page art for the goblin section, and it shows like 3-4 different goblin like warriors, and then a big goblin like queen in the background, and her bazongas are massive.
Yeah.
Like unreasonably so.
It's funny. She's not actually that. Like, she looks different. The monarch is the same art, and she looks a lot different there.
I don't know if it's intended to be the same character or not, to be honest, but maybe. But either way,
I don't like their faces.
Oh, they're really elongated faces.
I don't
They're
like
weird
their
dog
snouts.
noses.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I actually kind of like their snouts. In case anyone is worried, there's a lot of goblin stat blocks too.
Yeah, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Kind of surprised there isn't like higher echelon goblin stat blocks. I would have liked that, but maybe in the future. I know it's because goblins are considered like little bitch losers in terms of like how powerful they can get, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be interesting to have like, what does a higher echelon goblin look like?
Oh yeah, none of them break level 1. I didn't notice that.
Not on the goblins, no. I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure other people. This is one of those unfortunate things where I almost kind of wish we were live streaming, because then I could be like, "Hey, yo, chat, any stat blocks you want to look at?" But obviously we can't do that. So
yeah, no.
We just kind of jumped around and looked at what we wanted. And for my own personal aggrandizement, kobolds also fucking awesome.
I do love the kobolds. Yeah.
Kobolds are great, and plenty of kobold stat blocks. Love them. And lots of very different vibes with the kobold stat blocks too, like different kinds of kobolds, which is great.
Oh, I mean, we didn't talk about this thing at all, but the piece of art that I have to bring up is the fucking Lightbender. The crazy crystalline pearlescent
dog
saber tooth thing with 2 tails. I love this thing.
Pretty sick. Yeah, it's true. Oh man, and the lizard folk have lots of craziness going on.
Lizard folk are
Love
good.
Lizard folk.
Medusas are sick. The Minotaur's cool. I think my favorite monsters are unironically the Angolotls. They just each one of them. I do
like them.
Like the Angolotl.
They are a good vibe.
Is it the Wave? I think it's the Wave. Yeah, and he's just doing his little dance. They just look like they're having so much fun doing everything. I wish I was having as good a time as any of these Angolotls are.
The horrifying dark wizard frog man.
I love him. Did you see there's this little splash, like this little fluff piece where it's like, Angolotls really like humans. Adults tend to freak out a little bit.
Yes.
They don't think normal, like adult humans are the same species as child humans.
As children, yeah.
I kind of love that.
Yeah, they're weirded out by adults. They're like, why are they such different sizes?
Why are you so fucking big?
Yeah. Yeah, the Angolotls are wild. They're very, I don't know. It's funny because they have like stat blocks and you're like, I don't want to fight them.
Yeah, I don't want to fight any of them.
I feel bad.
Also, the red one with the hook thing has got a fucking 6-pack. Did you catch that?
No.
The first one you see with the dart, look real close. He's got abs.
Oh yeah, he do. Why he jacked?
He's a little jacked. I'm not gonna lie.
Why the frog boy jacked?
He about it. I don't want to fight him. You got it.
All right, let's get out of here before Brett tactical nukes us. I don't know. Any closing commentary on the monster book?
I liked the monster book more than I thought I would.
More? Yeah.
As someone who was very hesitant to read it, once I got past the brain-numbing math at the very beginning, the more I looked at the monsters, I was like, shit, these are really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of... I think the thing that they're really nailing that a lot of people have been feeling is lacking in 5e is evocative abilities, stuff that really makes the monster feel like the monster that it is, as opposed to just, the bag of hit points or whatever, like some kind of... And the funny thing is, too, you only need like 1 or 2 abilities that feel on theme for the creature to make it memorable. It's not like you need, 8 or anything, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it doesn't take that much, but, here we are. So, yeah. That has been us. Will be us for all eternity until the heat death of the universe or something.
I hope not. Ideally, Moon is coming on next week to talk about Kane. Ideally.
I don't know what that has to do with the heat death of the universe, but okay.
You said last time you were there, were going to see us.
No, I meant that wasn't what I. Never mind.
Okay.
Nope. Not what I meant, but
well,
sure.
I'm up to bat next week, and we're hopefully going to have our guest newbie DM friend Moon, who is going to explain to us her trials, tribulations, and general time being a first-time DM to a new system that is not 5th edition.
Yeah, with a weird system choice too. Yes. If you like what you heard, follow or subscribe.
Yeah.